And we're live. What a way to start. Welcome back to another episode of the Constructive Liberty Podcast. Today we are chatting about creating a strategic life plan. What that entails. We're going to go through. I've got all kinds of slides set up and everything. But before we get into that, I've got a couple of quotes of the day for you, as I always do. So, first one comes from Ellie Pedot or Pedot. I don't know how to say her name. Strategy, we're talking about life strategy. Strategy is a fancy word for coming up with a long-term plan and putting it into action. Plain and simple. Strategy is just a fancy word for coming up with a long-term plan and putting it into action. The second quote comes from Jim Rohn, and this is what he had to say. Success is 20% skills and 80% strategy. You might know how to succeed, but more importantly, what's your plan to succeed? Have you created a plan to get there, set goals, and created that path? I'm going to read that again. Success is 20% skills and 80% strategy. Oftentimes, when I set out to do something, I dive deep into the skills. I love to learn how to do things. I like knowing how things are going to go, how to do things. And I can do a lot of stuff. My problem is I'm losing the 80% strategy, or I'm missing that side of it. So I know how to succeed, but I fail to create a plan to succeed. So we're going to jump into some of that. Before we do, I want to invite you, if you've never rated or reviewed the show on iTunes or Stitcher or Podbean or wherever you listen to the podcast, I'd love if you would go leave it a 5-star review if you love the show, or just leave a small rating and a review on whatever podcatcher you listen to. And also go over to Instagram, go to the latest post from the Constructive Liberty Podcast. That's going to be the one for this show. And comment on it, the answer to today's question. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and give you today's question. And then we'll talk about that a little bit at the end. We're talking about life strategy. So today's question is, what do you hope for your life to look like in 5 years? And do you have a plan to achieve it? So it's kind of a two-part question. What do you hope your life looks like in 5 years? And what's your plan to achieving that? So go over to Instagram, answer that question, and then share that post to your stories. That helps us get a little bit more exposure, brings in more listeners. I appreciate it a lot if you do that. I will tag you in it. I will shout out on the next episode. And the other thing I want you to do is there's going to be a link in the show notes where you can go sign up to win a ticket to EdgeCon 2023. EdgeCon is billed as the most transformative small business conference in the U.S., or the most transformative Christian small business conference in the U.S. is how I'll put it. Torres puts it on. He's a really great dude. He's actually a cousin of mine as well. But I have a ticket that I'm giving away to EdgeCon 2023, probably happening in March, most likely in Nashville. I think they pretty well have that nailed down right now. But it's a $500 value. So go click the link, sign up, get a chance to win that ticket to EdgeCon. So let's jump right into creating a strategic life, living a more strategic life. And we're going to talk a little bit about how not having a life strategy can hurt you. So when you think of developing a strategy for your life, it can seem pretty daunting and to throw the idea out the door. A lot of people, when they set out to create a strategy for their life or a life plan, it's overwhelming. And they throw it out because they don't want to go down that path. And that can be a really big mistake that can come to haunt you down the road, say when you're 40, 50, 60 years old and you realize your life's not what you thought it would be. It's because you only thought about it. You didn't actually create for achieving it. See, when you don't have that strategy, you damage the ability to successfully achieve the life you want. And talking about success, success isn't an accident. So if you look at or study successful people and how they achieved it, it wasn't an accident. I mean, very few times was it an accident. You stumble, or you probably see the people who stumbled into success, or they lucked out, as we like to say. Most of the time, that's not the case, though. Most of the time, they had a strategy and they kept applying that to their life. They followed that strategy until they reached the success that they were looking for. And you and I need to do the same thing if we want to create the life that we want to live. So, just for instance, Jeff Bezos, he created Amazon, right? Way back in the early 90s. Back then, it was just a bookstore because books sold. His strategy was selling whatever would sell. You know, he would carry whatever people would buy. And that led him to expanding his inventory, searching for more things that people would buy. And now he's the largest marketplace on the internet, really, probably the largest in the world. And that wasn't an accident. He had a strategy to sell whatever would sell. If people would buy it, he's going to sell it. But that wouldn't have happened if he didn't have that strategy for his business. See, a life strategy gives you direction. Without that strategy, you're probably wandering around like, I don't know what to do. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I don't know what to do. I'm like, what am I going to do today? I think maybe I'll do some of this. I think I'll do a little bit of that. But I don't really have a set plan or a strategy for how to attack the day. And so I drink my coffee and maybe read my book for a little bit. And next thing I know, a couple hours have gone by. It's because I don't have a strategy. But that can also then lead you to spreading yourself too thin because you don't know what to prioritize. Because, you know, by the time you finally do get around to doing things, you're like, I got to do all the things. And then what? Then you're spread too thin. You need to develop a life strategy. That gives you the idea for a direction to head, and that helps you make decisions along the way and keeps you on the right path. If you don't have that strategy, what happens? You can get decision paralysis, or some people call it analysis by paralysis. Paralysis by analysis. I'm getting my mix all talked up. And see, having a life strategy helps when it comes to making those important decisions, as well as making the everyday small decisions. When you don't have that strategy for life, you find yourself faced with a decision and can't choose an answer. Like you're stuck. Like, I don't know what to do because you don't have anything to weigh that decision by. That leads to stress and anxiety, and then often making the wrong choice because you didn't know what the right thing to do was. So if you want to make decisions with ease, you have to develop that life strategy. Now, it might not seem like throwing a life strategy out the window can hurt you, but it certainly can. I mean, look at the people who don't ever have a plan, who don't, they do something, build a building, build a house, start a business or whatever, and they don't have a plan. It usually ends in disaster. And it's the same way in life. So many people, probably most people, get to 40, 50, 60, 80, however many years old, and they're not where they want to be. That life isn't how they thought it would be. They don't have direction. They're paralyzed when faced with decisions. They haven't taken the time to sit down and develop the strategy to guide their life. So I had a bunch more slides to go with this, but I'm not sure what happened with all of them. I'm going to remove that. So it's when you don't know what it is, where you want to go, what you want to do in life, it's daunting. You don't know what you need to do. Here, I'm going to share my screen again. See if I can share an application window here. For those of you on the audio, I'm pulling up some more slides over here. So if you'll bear with me for just a minute. Let's see. All right. Share that. Okay. We're going to start from the current slide. All right. So how can I live a more strategic life? So we've talked a lot about how it can hurt you, but how can you actually achieve that? So you need to decide what you want. Like decide that you want to live a more strategic life. I can't talk today. That is the first step towards getting what you want, towards achieving your goals. But just deciding isn't enough. You actually have to walk the walk. So here's a few ways that you can create a better strategy for your life. One is to set goals. I'm huge on setting goals. I like to sit down at the beginning of a week and write down everything that I have planned out for the week, setting those goals. That's a really short-term goal. Some people are even shorter term. They go like, what am I doing today? That's super short term, but it's better than nothing. It's at least more strategic than nothing at all. It's best if you can go long term, like a year, 5 years, 10 years, figuring out what it is you want, where you want to go with your life. See, there's no strategy without goals. Setting goals helps you narrow down the direction you want to go and gives you that clear map to use when developing or planning your strategy. You need to be specific with your goals so that you can create that strategy correctly. You also need to analyze your path. Once you have that path in front of you, because of the goals you laid out, like you see where you're going, then it's time to analyze it. Now, it'd be best if you analyze the things that you do to get you there, and you can see the roadblocks that might pop up along the way. This will help you have a deeper understanding of your strategy and prepare you for possible difficult decisions that arise. And we talked about that earlier, about how, what just happened here? About how when you don't know where you're going, you're stuck. You don't know what to do. Some people benefit from having a game plan. So if your goal is to make more money, your game plan could be like side jobs. It can be going out and raking the leaves for the neighbors on the weekend. It could be cutting grass or whatever those side jobs would be. It might be spending less money shopping or clipping coupons. But you have the goal of making more money or having more money in your pocket. And so you know what strategies to implement that will fit that. You can know on a day-to-day basis which actions are part of your strategy and which ones are not. You also need to apply that strategy to life and then check in with it from time to time. It's not enough to think of some goals and a general path to use to get there. You have to apply your strategy for it to work, and you need to be doing the things that you've outlined in your game plan each and every day. You've got to stick with it. If you have a planner, and I'm going to pull up my planner here. See, I use the Ziegler Performance Planner. If you have it, you have to put the things in there, and you've got to do the things. Make the plan, work the plan, stick to the plan. I don't remember the next line, but success. If you have frequent check-in times with yourself to make sure you're still on the path, that's gold. Like looking back, just am I on the right path? What am I doing? Am I taking the right steps? If you're not doing those things, you can't make the adjustments and move forward in the right way. If you want to live a more strategic life, you start by setting goals and analyzing your path. But once you have an idea of your strategy, you need to implement it to live a strategic life. Don't forget that strategy means nothing if it doesn't work, right? So if your strategy is not working, you need to throw it out the window or check in with yourself and see what you have that's more effective. We're also going to go into some ways that you can live more strategically. When you're living more strategically, you make it easier for yourself to accomplish those goals that we talked about that you've put in your planner and the decisions that you make along the way. But see, the problem can be it's hard to know what you need to do to live a more strategic life. So if you struggle with the idea of creating a strategy, we're going to go into 3 ways that you can learn to live more strategically. That's having that plan. It's not enough to just decide to live more strategically, right? You have to create it. You have to actually take steps towards it. The decision is a good beginning point, but it's only the beginning. You have to move forward. See, it can be difficult to follow your thoughts and dreams when it's only up here. It's better to write it down and create that plan. This will help you have a narrower focus and plan out better how to deal with decisions when they arrive. So, if you want to hold a higher position at your job, if you want to get a raise or a promotion, you got to write it down. I mean, you know what it is that you want. Now, what's going to help you get there? What's it going to take? It's not enough to be like, well, I want a promotion or I need a raise. Well, what's it going to take to get you the thing that you want? You also need to plan ahead for change. So if you're following a strategic plan, it can be a little daunting when something in your life changes and the plan doesn't fit anymore. But see, that is okay. The only way to deal with change is by embracing it so you can deal with it more quickly and get back on the path that you were on before. It's best if you prepare for changes in advance. But while you can't prepare for everything, it's a strategy that helps keep you on top of your goals even when the unexpected happens. You need to be more confident in yourself. When it comes to living that strategic life that we are talking about, it is vitally important to stay confident. See, it takes confidence and belief in yourself to stick to the strategy when other people doubt you or disagree with you, or when you have times of hardship. Those things throw a wrench in the gears, and that's not fun to work through. If self-confidence is something that you struggle with, you might employ different tactics to help you boost your self-confidence. There's different things out there that you can try: positive self-talk, gratitude, and even changing your posture when you sit and walk and talk and run and work. Like, if you're sitting hunched over like that, it's not only bad for you, but it messes with you mentally. If you sit up straight and tall and act confident, you tend to feel more confident and then be more confident. It's weird how that works. So if you've decided you want to embrace a more strategic life, it's time to create a plan to prepare for change. It's also best if you work on your self-confidence so you can stick to the plan even when unforeseen things come your way. That is the end of what I am going to share with you today. If I can. All right. That's all that I've got on that today. I did have some more things that I could go through, but we are nearing 20 minutes already. And I want to invite you, if you want to know a little bit more about creating a strategic life plan, like building a plan for your life, I have a free download that goes not super in depth, but it talks a little bit more about that. And I'm going to drop a link in the show notes where you can go download that thing. It's a primer creating a strategic life. So if you're interested, go download that. You do have to put your email in. It'll send it to you via email, and then there's going to pop up another offer that you can buy an ebook that goes a lot more in depth. Even on a lot of the things that we talked about today, it's deeper than that, better, more well presented, I'm sure, than what I did today. But check that out. Let me look at my notes here to make sure I covered everything. Oh, where are we at? Oh, I wanted to mention a podcast episode that I heard recently. It's the School of Greatness episode 1231. And the title of it is Why You're Lacking Charisma and How to Create It, with Vanessa Van Edwards. I'm going to drop a link to that in the show notes as well. Man, I have a lot of links in the notes today. But I shared that with my wife, and oftentimes she doesn't listen to the podcasts that I send her, but she did listen to this one and she loved it. And she ended up sending it to my sister, who then said it was probably, she believes, the most interesting podcast episode she ever listened to. And I would have to agree, it is very high up there as far as how interesting that episode was. So again, that is The School of Greatness, episode 1231, Why You're Lacking Charisma and How to Create It. If you don't remember the questions for the day, it's what do you hope to achieve? What do you hope for your life to look like in 5 years? And do you have a plan to achieve it? Do good work.